cow. We have seen a lot of evil from professors in the United States with some of their comments and actions, but I don't know that I've seen comments this evil. This is straight up evil, and I don't use that word very often. Professor says Otto Warmbier got exactly what he deserved. Oh, that's the light part of it. Wait till you get into the details here. University of Delaware professor claimed Wednesday that Otto Warmbier, he's the guy who was convicted in North Korea for taking down a political poster and sentenced to 15 years in life. 15 years in jail, in prison in North Korea, to hard labor, and then he ended up going brain dead. He was tortured. He got sick, and then North Korea sent him back in a coma that he had been in for a year, and he died not long after. So, but it says the University of Delaware professor claimed Wednesday that he was typical of rich, white, clueless males, and got exactly what he deserved at the hands of the North Koreans. When other readers challenged her comment on a National Review article about Warmbier's death, Katherine Dettwyler doubled down, saying Warmbier fit the mold of a student who would rape drunk girls and snort cocaine. So this is a man who just died, whose family is grieving, and who has, they're not a public figure. It's not like, there's something about him in particular that you disagreed with and want to make a point about or whatever. There's no gray area here. Nobody knew who this guy was, in terms of like national prominence. Until he got arrested, like he wasn't, particularly involved that the average person would know with in regards to politics or anything like that. So to try to make a political point about how he fits the mold of a student who would rape drunk girls and snort cocaine, and you're using all the rich, white, clueless males like this feminist Marxism, is ridiculous. A University of Delaware professor claimed Wednesday that Otto Warmbier was typical of a rich, white, clueless male and got exactly what he deserved at the hands of the North Koreans. Katherine Dettwyler, an anthropology professor at University of Delaware, expressed her feelings on the death of Warmbier in the comment section of an article published by the National Review, as well as on her personal Facebook page. By the way, it's my understanding that so far nothing has happened to her. Dettwyler argued, meaning that there's been no action against her by the University of Delaware, as far as I could find. Dettwyler argues that while in North Korea, Warmbier had acted like a spoiled, naive, arrogant U.S. college student who had to face the consequences of his actions. Yeah, and the consequences of your actions are that you should, be put in a coma for over a year before dying because you took down a political poster. Yeah, that punishment definitely meets the crime. So later describing him as having typical mindset of a lot of the young, white, rich, clueless males she teaches. Now, she should not be teaching because she obviously has anti young, white, rich, clueless, I should say anti-young, white, rich male sentiment. And she's going to see a lot of young, white, rich males in her classes, and she can't fairly teach these people. She's going to have to grade them, and she can't remain neutral. She has to be fired. There's no other answer. And she should not be hired by any other university because she shouldn't teach at all, because if you cannot remain neutral, your career should be over. Is it wrong of me to think that Otto Warmbier got exactly what he deserved? This is her actual her comment. Exactly what he deserved. He went to North Korea, for fuck's sake, and then acted like a spoiled, naive, arrogant U.S. college student who had never had to face the consequences of his actions. There's a lot to him. I'm going to make another video about his situation, but I don't think a lot of people know his story, to be honest, and it's not as straight up like this as she's making it out to be. There's some interesting things that happened before he went to North Korea, and but one thing's for sure, he didn't deserve this. And I don't know how you come out at this time. She didn't even wait very long and start saying stuff like this. I see him crying at and I've been critical of his decision to go to North Korea. I don't think that was a smart move. Nobody should go to North Korea if you're going as like a journalist or something. You're taking on the risks, or you know what risks you're taking on and stuff. But and if you want to do an honorable thing by risking your life to bring a story and hopefully bring, end oppression against lots of people and raise awareness about what North Korea does, okay, that's one thing. But if, to go like Otto did, it doesn't make a lot of sense. But, that's as far as a criticism should go. To go as far as she went is ridiculous. I see him crying at a sentencing hearing and think, what did you expect? How about a few moments of thought given to all the other people in North Korea who are suffering under the repressive government there? Who doesn't think about those people? Who doesn't feel for those people? Every time we hear about it, like, I can't remember the last time that I read about North Korea and didn't hear about how oppressive of a government they are. And I brought up some points where they're like they have some good women's sports teams, and I found that kind of interesting. But everybody knows that they have hard labor camps for ridiculous lengths of time for very minor crimes and all kinds of, they starve their people while the leaders eat lavishly, and they put up these rooms full of food where nobody actually goes there just to put on a show for like journalists and stuff. Everybody knows, not everybody, but most people know this kind of stuff now, and they feel for the average North Korean who's stuck there. We fought a war to try to prevent this, literally. And I mean, the war obviously, the war was largely anti-communist, and North Korea is communist. Like, I don't know what you want from the United States. It's kind of funny because you seem to be a socialist or communist, something along those lines, judging by how your comments are phrased, and yet, the capitalist United States tried to prevent this from happening. We created a South Korea. Russia and China created a North Korea. This was the Korean War. It's, we largely won in Korea, but it's too bad that we couldn't, finish the job and have South Korea be, the entire peninsula there. It's too bad, but China had to step in, and we weren't gonna fight a war and lose millions or more people. So we backed off, but war might be coming in the future, because this shit is ridiculous what they did here. How about a few moments of... So then it says, just because they are North Koreans and not U.S. citizens, we shouldn't care about them? Who's saying that? Nobody is. I've spent my life teaching folks just like Otto. I'm a 62-year-old college professor of anthropology. Oh, really? So you spent your life teaching kids who've gone to North Korea. Oh, wait, you mean rich white men. Basically white men. That's what it comes down to. You've taught white men. Good job. And they're all the same, right? And Otto is typical of the mindset of a lot of the young, white, rich, clueless males who come into my classes. These are the same kids who cry about their grades because they didn't think they'd really have to read and study the material to get a good grade. Or, maybe you're being a little biased. I think that the school should go and look at some of these grades. And if white males are getting graded lower than other groups of people, that might be a sign that there was some bias. And, if you went to this school and had this as a professor, when are we going to see lawsuits over grades? There's strong evidence that this professor is a biased, non-neutral professor, and that can't fairly grade, white males. So I would be interested in lawsuits coming forward against these colleges and against these teachers, because I think it'd be really interesting to see if they could win a lawsuit. They simply deserve a good grade for being who they are. Nobody thinks it. Nobody. Because you know how I know no white men think this way? Because or nearly no people, because most white people don't even have white as like a primary identity. Like if you ask me what am I, I'm gonna say I'm Polish and German. I'm gonna point to my ethnicity. My race isn't really important to me. I remember one of the best examples of this is Anna Kasparian from the Young Turks. I remember when she used to rip on white people all the time. And then one time, the young had Chang, he was like, basically is like, you're white, right? And she's like, no, she's like, what? No, I'm Armenian. And it's like, Armenian is white. And she's kind of changed her message from then, because I saw later a video where she was using the fact that she was white. She's like, look, I'm a white woman and I have all these privileges. And she was using that to like talk down to other white people then. So she kind of rebranded, but like the fact that she didn't see herself as white, she saw herself as Armenian, is exactly what I'm saying. I don't see myself as white. I know I'm white, at least, unlike Anna Kasparian, but I see myself as Polish and German. And actually, to be honest, I see myself primarily as American above if I had to pick like one group, I would say American. Like my nationality matters more than my ethnicity, but my ethnicity matters more than my race. Or instead of crying, they bluster and threaten their female professors. His parents ultimately are to blame for his growing up thinking he could get away with whatever he wanted. Maybe in the U.S., where young, white, rich, clueless white males routinely get away with raping women. How is Otto Warmbier's death being used to push some narrative about getting away with raping women? He has nothing to do with this. He didn't rape any women. Not that we know of. So this is ridiculous. Why don't you use an actual case of like a white man raping women if you want to make this point? I mean, this is ridiculous. Not so much in North Korea. And of course, it's Otto's parents who will pay the price for the rest of their lives. You know, that's even more ridiculous, that she recognizes that his parents are grieving and you know, they're going to have a tough time dealing with this. And yet she's still going off. When something like this, she has to know something like this could get popular, and the parents could see this and, you know, be even more emotional for them. She also expressed surprise at the footage of Warmbier crying during a sentencing hearing, saying he should have expected the consequences he faced, and then complaining that not enough thought is given to all the people in North Korea who are suffering under a repressive government. I mean, why do you think that I literally advocate for war against North Korea? Not only, you know, they're trying to get nukes against, you know, to potentially harm the United States someday, because I think that, you know, if they got nukes and could actually launch them at the United States, at some point they might actually do so. And so yes, there is that motive for me, but the other motive is like, look at South Korea and what it is. Look at North Korea and what it is. You know, South Koreans have it so much better than North Koreans, and by toppling the government of North Korea, we could have like a really good you know, North Korea, or we could improve the world greatly by ending this, you know, this oppressive regime, and that would improve all those North Koreans. I don't understand where she gets this idea that people don't think about these North Koreans. Dettwyler explains that she is a 62-year-old college professor who has been teaching folks just like Otto in her entire life, declaring that these are the same kids who cry about their grades after refusing to study, or instead of crying, they bluster and threaten their female professors. So you're telling me that, you know, kids in general don't complain about their grades? If it, you know, it's just these white kids. I mean, give me a break. It's so ideologically motivated. When another reader objected to the hatred you spew at ordinary white college kids, Dettwyler responded by allowing that not all of her students fall into the category she described. Yeah, some of them are black, right? Some of them are Latino. They're not all white. Saying, I love my hardworking, sincere, non-arrogant college students. Notice there was no race there. It really sounds like she hates ordinary white college kids. It does. You know, she's been ripping white kids the entire time, and then she doesn't use the term white in this statement. She nonetheless reiterated her original assumption that Warmbier was the type of student she detests, clarifying that, I said Otto's behavior is like the white, rich, clueless males. Who, you know, if you were ripping the behavior, you'd be saying, like, you don't like, you know, certain actually ways of acting, certain actions. You know, being white is not an action. It's something that you can't change. Being rich is not an action. It's a state of being. Clueless is a state of being, but as well. And then being male is like it's something that you're born into, like. And really, what this is the hatred against white males. And that's just those. It's a way of being. It's a, you know, you're born into it. You can't help being a white male. Well, you know, I guess you can change your gender these days and like get sex changes later in life. But the majority of people can't help that they're white males. Okay. Who think nothing of raping drunk girls at frat parties and snorting cocaine, cheating on exams, and threatening professors with physical violence. I don't think I need to say anything more. Although I will say, the group of people that commit the most physical violence in terms of race per capita it's certainly not white people. Certainly not. Kathy Dettwyler, is it wrong for me to think that Otto Warmbier got exactly what he deserved? Yes, in fact, you are more than wrong. You are a hate-filled, twisted person who should not be teaching at all. The hatred you spew at ordinary white college kids proves the point of this article. Please drop dead soon. Now, the last sentence, this would have been a lot better if the last sentence wasn't here, but the overall sentiments are, perfect. Then I'm not in fact full of hate. I love my hardworking, sincere, non-arrogant college students. Not that I said Otto's behavior is like the white, rich, clueless males. Many of my students don't fall into the demographic. If you knew some of these kids, you'd be appalled. They think nothing of raping drunk girls at frat parties and snorting cocaine, cheating on. So, this is the actual comment earlier that we read. So, and then the response was, knowing a lot of young people, you are exaggerating and you throw around the word white in a way that would get you fired if you talk that way about the black kids. Exactly. Dettwyler's page on ratemyprofessors.com suggests that her outburst was not unusual, with former students describing her as very opinionated and obnoxious, and even claiming that she hates America. It's her opinion or no opinion, and she won't be afraid to express it, even if it may offend half the class, one former student warned, while another declared that, my problem with her is that she says we are not entitled to our own facts, but she clearly seems to think she is. Oh, these are like classic responses, man. So, this has been a problem. Where has the university been? I mean, these are some pretty, when you start seeing comments that she hates America, isn't that something you might want to look into? And I'm not saying she should be fired because one student thinks that she hates America, but if you start seeing a bunch of comments like this, these are pretty serious issues. And when it's, comments like nobody else can have an opinion, and that she's offending half the class at a time and invoking, race, that's a big issue. In her original comment, Dettwyler ultimately blames Warmbier's parents for allowing him to grow up with the impression that he could get away with whatever he wanted. About that, she doesn't know the parents or how he was raised or anything like that. Concluding that they will pay this price for the rest of their lives. Of course. And, there are some hater, there was one hater out there that told me that I need to, the information I state is too obvious when I'm giving a critique. But that's actually kind of the point. It doesn't take a great mind, to figure out what's wrong here. This is like obvious stuff. Why is it that these universities can't, see these problems and solve them before something seriously stupid like this happens? Like, all the warning signs were there that she should not be teaching. Based on, her rate my professors and just, any talking to her would have obviously shown that she holds these sentiments. She's very opinionated. It's not like she's hiding them from everybody. And she has anti-white sentiments, anti-male sentiments. She should not be teaching. She cannot grade fairly and teach fairly to all different groups of students. And anyways, that's all I've got for now. I just this really is evil to come out and say, remember he was in a coma for over a year, and she thinks he deserves that because he tore down a political poster. Anyways, have a good day, guys.